Okay, so for those of you guys at home, welcome in. I am going to start sharing the screen here. We've got a couple students in class as well. So, you don't need to join it because you're here. So we are going to do everything on the computer today so that you guys are able to see this and able to come back and view it later or view it live. If you log in during class time at 9:20 a.m., I will be streaming class live with the same Google Meet code as always, Levine Math 7. Or you can, I will have the recordings as well, so you can watch it later if you don't quite wake up on time or something. That will be available to you. So without further ado, let me share my screen here and we'll get started with what we have today. Just realize. So here's what we got.
Ruby looks over the edge of her boat and sees fish 4/10 of a meter below the surface of the water. If Ruby holds a 1 meter long net at 5/10 of a meter above sea level, can she reach the fish? To find the distance between any 2 points on a number line, find the absolute value of their difference. One way to express the difference is the absolute value of 5/10 minus -4/10. Subtracting a negative number is the same as adding its opposite. So the expression is equivalent to the absolute value of 5/10 plus 4/10, which is equivalent to the absolute value of 9/10, or 9/10.
All right. So there's a couple things, right? That's confusing. That's a lot of info. Let's go back through this because there's a couple things here that we talked about last week that I want to review. Okay. So the first way to do this is you are subtracting what they call subtracting the absolute values, right? Or take the absolute value of the difference. We're looking for the difference between 0.5 and negative 0.4. So whenever you hear the word difference, you should be thinking that's subtract, right? The difference is we are subtracting. If it's the sum, we're adding. If it's the difference, we're subtracting. So that's why they have 0.5 minus, and then the other point is negative 0.4. So we have 0.5 minus a negative. We have a double negative here. So from the other day, I'm sure you guys remember talking about this last week, but anytime we have a double negative, if I say 3 minus -4, what do we have to do to the double negative, the minus and negative? What do we do when we see this minus and negative on here? Turn them both into pluses. Good job. Thank you. Yep. So I'm going to make these plus plus, right? So anytime you see a double negative, you're going to turn those into pluses. So this becomes really easy now. 3 plus 4, or 3 plus positive 4 if we're reading it literally. 3 plus 4 is 7. An easy problem, right? If we had 6 minus -3, right? All we do is change them into pluses. Sorry about my handwriting. At least it's better on the touchscreen than it was when I was writing with the mouse. 6 plus +3, 6 plus 3 is 9, right? So those are easy. So I just wanted to review that real quick before we go on. So let's go back to the video, all right? So the difference between positive 0.5 and negative 0.4 is, right? We would do this as the double negative, they changed it into a positive, right? They changed the double negative into a positive. So 0.5 plus 0.4, which is 0.9. That is the distance on the number line between 0.5 and negative 0.4, right? So let's look at the other way.
Another way to express the difference is the absolute value of -4/10 minus 5/10. Subtracting a positive number is equivalent to adding its opposite. The expression is equivalent to the absolute value of -9/10, which is 9/10.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Actually, you can just go back and get it. They're right there. So a couple more things that we have talked about that they have said, that they just said. Let's think about these. If you are subtracting a number, you are really adding the negative, right? If you're subtracting the number, you're really adding a negative. So that's what they're demonstrating here. Negative 0.4, you're finding the difference, right? So they did it in opposite order. Instead of doing 0.5 minus negative 0.4, they did negative 0.4 minus 0.5. We're still finding the difference because we are still subtracting, right? So then they just changed this into adding a negative. Subtracting is the same as adding a negative, and they got the absolute value of negative 0.9 is 0.9, right? I'm going to go back to the Jamboard here and clear this, because just as a review, anytime we see a number inside bars, what do we know about it? What do those two bars on the outside mean? They mean, well, what about the minus? Do they mean that the negative stays in there, or do they mean that the negative disappears? Yeah, those are called absolute value bars, right? Just like in our video, these are absolute value bars right here, right? So absolute value bars mean everything inside of this cannot be negative, like the final result of it, right? So the absolute value of -8 is 8. We take away the negative. If I said, what's the absolute value of 16 minus 20, right? 16 minus 20 is -4. The absolute value of -4, we know that everything inside these bars cannot be negative. The absolute value of -4 is 4, right? So anytime you see bars around a number or around an expression, you know whatever the result is of all this stuff inside the bars, if it's negative, I got to get rid of the negative, right? That's what those bars mean. That's what absolute value is. Absolute value is the distance away from 0. It is not negative. It can never be negative because we are talking about a distance, right? So that's what, to summarize, when you see the bars, you need to take away the negative, okay? Let's go back to the video. Share that tab.
The fish are 9/10 meter below where.
I'm sorry? They can see it. They can see it on the screen. They're seeing what's up on the board right now. So the question was, can Ruby reach the fish with her 1 meter long net? Yes, she can, because the distance between her and the fish is 0.9. So her 1 meter, her 1.0 meter net would actually reach down to -0.5. So she's got 1/10 of a meter to spare to catch these fish, right? So she is going to be able to catch this fish. Her net is longer than she needs to reach the fish.
Ruby holds the net. So Ruby can reach the fish with a 1 meter long net.
There you go. See, they lined these up. When she puts her net down, see how the bottom of the net lines up right at 1 meter, right? So that's kind of illustrating, and the fish are at 0.4 below. So the fish are within reach of the net, right? She can catch them with a 1 meter long net. So good. All right. Now it's going to give us a chance to practice on our own here. So let me get out of full screen and let's go to the problem. All right. So 2 divers are swimming at different depths below sea level. So there's a key word, below sea level, right? So if they're below sea level, is that going to be negative or positive? What do you think? Negative, I agree. Yeah, if they're below something, anything, you're probably going to have negative numbers, right? If you are below 0 in temperature, obviously you're going to be in negative temperature. It's going to be really cold that day if it's going to be below 0. So one diver is at negative 25.5 feet. So he is 25 and a half feet below sea level, right? So here's the sea level. Make this all fancy. I'll make it blue. Purple. Water isn't purple, water's blue. I'm going to make it blue. So diver 1 is 25.5 feet below sea level. Oh, let's black. 25.5 feet, right? And it's negative because he's below sea level, right? The sea level would represent 0 feet, right? If you're above, you don't need to do it right now. You can do it in a second when we're done, okay? Because I don't want to interrupt the recording. So the second diver, I'm going to use a different color for him. Let's use, I don't know, we'll use green. You want to use purple? Okay, fine. Purple it is. So the second diver is, he's 40 point what? 40.75. Negative 40.75 feet below sea level. So there's diver 1 and diver 2, right? We'll call this guy diver 1. Diver. They are diving below sea level. They're going scuba diving or whatever to go check out the fish. So now we need to figure out what's the difference here. I'm going to make the difference in red. We are asking how much further down is the second diver, right? So we are finding the difference. We know that diver 1 is negative 25.5 feet below sea level. We know that diver 2 is 40.75 feet below sea level, and we don't know the difference. So let's figure it out. When we say the word difference, what are we thinking? Are we thinking add, subtract, multiply, or divide? If you hear the word difference. The word difference should tell us what? Are we adding or subtracting if you hear the word difference? We are subtracting, right? That's one, we need to start learning those to know, right? If you hear the word sum, you know you're adding. If you hear difference, you got to subtract. If you hear the word of or by, you're going to multiply. And if you hear the word per, you're going to divide, right? Those are all good vocabulary words. But we need the difference. So let's do this. The difference between negative 40.75. Let me redo that. Didn't really write that all that neatly. Try this. The difference between negative 40.75, the difference is a minus. Oh, you know what? I should do that in purple too, because that guy is purple, right? We use purple for him. Let's do it that way. The difference is always a minus. And then what's our diver 1's depth? What's diver 1's depth? How far down is diver 1? The black diver. Right. Negative 25.5. The purple diver was 40.75. Now we have a problem we can do. All right? We have a problem we can do here. What do you see that we need to do right away? We have a double negative, so what should we do to that? We should absolutely turn that into a plus sign. You're right. I'm going to use a different color here and rewrite the expression. Negative 40.75 plus, right? We're going to turn these into pluses, plus positive 25.5. So, gosh, that's an awful 5. Terrible. Terrible, as Chuck would say, terrible. So now this becomes pretty easy. And I think I might I don't know if the calculator will show up here to the people watching at home, but I'm going to pull up the calculator here and just do this with the calculator. So 40.75, we got to make it negative. And then we are adding, right, because we plussed the plus, so to speak. We made the double negative into a plus 25.5. Enter. So the difference is negative 15.25. Right? So the distance between this distance is 15.25 feet, right? The purple diver is 15.25 feet lower than the black diver, as demonstrated by our chart, right? Does that make sense? The difference, since it was the difference, we had to subtract initially, but since we are subtracting a negative, it became plus. Then we just do the problem, negative 40.75 plus 25.5, and there's our difference. Difference is 15.25. Fair enough? Easy enough? Questions? All right, let me go on. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, it's gonna, okay, let's do this. This one's gonna be one of the ones we'll have to do on the Jamboard. That's okay though. All right, lava flows from an active volcano's magma reservoir located below sea level through the magma conduit. How far is the summit of the volcano from sea level? So we look at our diagram. It starts 1 mile below sea level. I'm going to try to recreate. I'm going to recreate our. Let's recreate our. There we go. Make this a little bigger. That's good. So we got a volcano here. Volcano is, there's your volcano, right? And here's your magma conduit. Here's your magma, liquid hot magma. Magma is molten rock. It is really hot liquid rock. Rock that is so hot that it melted. That's what comes out of volcanoes. Rock that is so hot that the rock has melted, right? Once the rock comes out, once the magma comes out, it dries and cools and it becomes rock. So it builds a volcano, right? Yes. So here is, it goes a total of 4 miles. From sea level to the magma conduit, or to the reservoir, is 1 mile, right? So it's asking us, how high is the mountain? So what are we really doing here? We are finding, let's use green. We are finding the difference. We do not know how high the mountain is above sea level. We know that the magma travels 4 miles from here up to here to come out the volcano, but we do not know how high the mountain is, okay? So we are finding the difference. Let's find the difference. I'm going to go back to a different color. So the total distance traveled is 4, right? And the distance below sea level is 1. So 4 minus 1 equals 3. It's that easy, right? It's that easy on that one. Doesn't that make sense? That this mystery number right here should be 3, because if the total distance here is 4, if we go up 1, how far do we still need to go? We need to go 3. If we did that on the number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I should start at 0, right? So if I start at 0 and I go 1, that represents this. How far do I still have to go to get to 4? That's where I need to go. Obviously, 1, 2, 3, right? I should have used a different color for that. I should have used, like, I don't know, yellow. 1, 2, 3, right? 1 plus 3 is 4. So that was an easy one. That was an easy one. Let's see if the next one's a little bit more tricky, maybe a little bit more challenging. Obviously, the summit of the volcano is 3 miles above sea level in this particular problem. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, and it shows us that. I don't know why it gave us all these different numbers, because that's not the numbers. That is not the numbers that we got. This is 4 miles and it's 1 mile below sea level, so it has to be 3. Maybe they had something different down here. Let's try another one. Try another one. Oh, it's generating different numbers every time we click into it. That's why it changed the numbers on us. So this is 6 miles and it's 2 miles below sea level. Let's clear the frame. So we have a total distance of 6 miles. 6 miles, right? 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. This distance is 6. We know that this is -2, right? That's easy. The magma flows from 2 miles below the surface. So again, we are looking to find our mystery number here. What is left? So let's find the difference, right? We start out with 6. The difference always means minus, so we can subtract 2. So what should our mystery number be here? What is 6 minus 2? That's an easy one, guys. What's 6 minus 2? 6 take away 2. What? 6 take away 2. Think about that again. One more time. 6 minus 2. 5. What comes after 5? If we're counting down, we're subtracting 5, 4, right? 6 minus 2 is 4. So this mystery number is 4. And that makes sense because if we have to travel a total distance of 6 spaces, then if we travel 1, 2, we're on the number line. Let's do this on the number line. 1, 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I did my number line wrong, didn't I? That's actually 7 spots. Whoops, this would be 7. I screwed the number line up, but you get my point, right? The -2 and the +4, we're taking the absolute values here because we're talking about the distance from 0. So technically this would be a minus a -2, but then we're taking the absolute value here, right? So that 4 above and 2 below is 6, right? 4 plus 2 is 6. Or taking the difference, we knew that the whole thing was 6, and we knew that the below surface was 2, so we just subtracted and got 4. All right. So this is good. Let's share this one. 1.5. One more example here. Oh, they give us the answer on this one. What do we know right away here that we have to do? And we'll do it on the Jamboard. But what do you guys see in that problem? I know it's small, but what do you notice? I'm going to rewrite it. I'll rewrite it on the Jamboard here. 0.2 minus -2.5. Oh, add 0. I skipped a step. What do you notice right away? we have a double what? If we have a minus a negative, then we need to make that what? I'm going to use a different color for it. Minus a negative. What happens to it? We got to make them positive, right? Anytime we see a double negative, we have a positive. So what we're going to have is 0.2 plus 2.5. Now we need to make this into a decimal, right? We need to make that into a decimal so that they're the same. Now, if I punch 1 over 2 into a calculator, and again, those of you at home will not be able to see this, but 1 divided by 2, that's all we have to do if we want to easily calculate a decimal out of a fraction, is 0.5. So we have 2.5, right? So we're not going to have 0.5, we're going to have 2.5. Because the half is the same as 0.5, right? A half and 0.5 are the same thing, and the 2 stays. Now, our problem is really easy. 0.2 plus 2.5 is 2.7, right? There you go. So let's see if we got that right here. Yep, that's what they came up with as well. Oh. Forgot to click for those of you guys at home. Here's how we did that, right? 0.2, we plus 2.5. We had a double negative here, so we made that a plus plus. 0.2 plus 2.5. We took the half, which is the same as 0.5, right? 1 over 2 equals 0.5. So we replaced the half with a 0.5. Now we have 2 decimal numbers, so we can add them together very easily to get 2.7. Sorry that I forgot to switch over to the Jamboard on that, but that's what they got, right? The change in temperature from morning to afternoon was 2.7 degrees, just like we showed on the Jamboard. All right. I am going to pause for today on the video, and then the people here in class are going to have an activity to work on. So, for those of you guys at home, thanks for watching. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Schoology, so same thing.